For 9 consecutive years, Illinois has lost population according to U.S. Census estimates, and some people saying that that's not the case. While we anticipate new numbers, new estimates from the U.S. Census sometime in the next 3 weeks, we'll see whether or not Illinois will have a straight decade of annual estimated population loss. And when you look at the stats, it's rather fascinating because it goes, I think I've been tracking this each and every year, so this is just from my memory. It was like 10,000 one year, and then it was like 25,000 the next year, and then it was like 30 or 40,000, and then 80,000, and then 90. And I think last year was over 100,000 people estimated to have lost from the state of Illinois to either other states or to other countries, and that's staggering. You're talking, like 500,000 over the span of 9 years estimated the state has lost. And when you look at the actual U.S. Census numbers for 2022, it says it's like 12.58 million people. That's down from the 12.8 some odd million people just a handful of years ago in the state of Illinois. But Democrats, they insist that the state's not losing population. They've actually written the U.S. Census demanding that the state's population be increased. But Governor J.B. Pritzker earlier this week with the Crain's Chicago Business publication talking about population, he said that people are looking at this in the entirely wrong way.
People who are down on Illinois are not looking at the right indicators of the future of our state. Our future is bright. We have our enrollment numbers are some of the best in our universities and colleges, are some of the best in the country now.
So the governor has downplayed population decline time and again, and ultimately has said that it's not as bad, or even arguing that it's not happening, that we're not losing population. But it's not just Illinois. You've got Democrat-controlled states across the country that have lost population. And Illinois, we've seen not just U.S. Census data to that effect. We've seen moving company data that's released annually, showing that indeed Illinois often leads the nation, if not right up there at the top of the total number of people getting moving vans to leave the state. You've also seen it in IRS migration data that's released every year, showing that Illinoisans are not just losing people, but billions of taxable income. So that's another impact here. Earlier this week, I talked with Marcus Evans outside of the Illinois State Board of Elections, where he was taking questions and getting ready to file his nominating petitions. And he talked a bit about the population issue after I asked if that's a problem that needs to be addressed. Here's some of that exchange with Marcus Evans.
It's my understanding that we're not losing the population, but the biggest thing is let's focus on continue to gain, bring in new jobs here, creating good job climates, making sure it's high quality jobs, and making sure we take care of people who are struggling to make them productive. So if we could focus on what we're doing, the population will continue to grow. But we are still the United States of America. We're not fighting the next state, and sometimes that does bother me. When I travel across the world, it's one country. But sometimes we get into these unnecessary state battles. We are the United States of America. So some of these population battles are kind of frivolous. As long as they're in the United States, we should be happy, right? I mean, I think so.
It's a good, talking point. But as I said, you've got IRS migration data that shows Illinois is losing tax dollars to the tune of billions of dollars. So that's a significant issue. And that takes away resources from the state of Illinois. I also talked with Congressman Mike Bost briefly earlier this week and asked him about population decline and how to address it in the state of Illinois.
As a congressman, all I can do is make sure that my legislation or the things I vote on make sure that it causes a economic growth in this nation. What the state of Illinois has done, you need to talk to your state legislators, because I've been warning about that for years, and I've watched the population leave the state of Illinois. But here's what's really wild. If you remember, in 1995, the Republicans had control of the House, control of the Senate, and every statewide office. We paid our bills on a 28-day pay cycle, and our long-term indebtedness was less than $20 billion. Our net debt now is $132 billion, and people are leaving the state. And your members of Congress, the amount of members of Congress you have shows that. Of course, I'm from a very unique situation in the fact that my district is the most Republican district in the state of Illinois. It's how they rate it is.
And he goes on to talk about the politics of his district, but regardless, he highlights how indeed the state's losing population because we're losing seats in Congress. We have 17 U.S. House seats in the state of Illinois, 1-7. 30 years ago, we had 22 House seats. So every 10 years after the decennial census, you've got reapportionment that happens, and Illinois, over the past 30 years, has continued to lose population and apportionment to where we've gone from 22 U.S. House seats, that's influence in the U.S. Congress, to 17 U.S. House seats. So we'll be anticipating the reporting from annual estimates of the U.S. Census state by state. So that should come out sometime, maybe a week or so before Christmas. So we'll be revisiting this issue, no question.